If you look, for those of us who are old enough, I was privileged, not like Hakonde and perhaps Waziri Mbauchi, if you see her already. Oh, the other Waziri Mbauchi, there is the new Waziri Mbauchi and my senior elder Waziri Mbauchi, who are very senior civil servants and public officers during the colonial administration. And some of us tried to catch up with them, and I was one of those fortunate ones to have worked for 2 years with the late Sardauna as the Premier of Northern Nigeria and I as a young agricultural officer. And there is another old man who has just walked in now. And I would say he's a peer because we were together at the level of secondary and tertiary level education over the years together. And we were growing up together, we ended up being commissioners. Both of us at the age of 32 years at the time in the North Central State Government of Nigeria. That's Alhaji Sandangondara has just walked in. He's still very fortunate he's not walking with a walking stick yet. But I think he's very close. Now, with these few remarks in terms of the personalities that were all here, I can only join my Director General in welcoming all of us here and to say a special thank you, very special thank you for responding. Is she here? Oh, yes, yes. For responding to our invitation to this gathering. Coming from the north, and not just coming from the north, coming from the nerve center of northern Nigeria, that was Kaduna, where I come from personally. I cannot miss the presence of my governor, Malam El-Rufai, who is here today. And of course, my former student in Ahmadu Bello University's area. So we're all very happy that we found time, despite all the challenges we face in society today, to honor this invitation because of its importance. Its importance, as the chairman of the occasion has pointed out, is because the North, for which we speak today, is really the foundation of this country. Very recently, I had been assigned the responsibility of going around to speak to our traditional fathers, our elders. And the reason for this assignment was for us to find out really, especially from them, who are the custodian of our history and our culture and our traditions and our values, for me to be able to find out exactly, in their view, what has been going wrong with events in the country generally, but most importantly, what is going wrong with this part of the country, the northern states, the northern region. I was very happy I did. I was escorted by only one person, he's also here. And it was a special privilege for me to engage with each and every one traditional ruler, 27 of them in the north here. Senior, the very senior ones, 27 of them, starting with the Sultan, way down to the Shehu of Borno, down to Akuka, to Totiv, the Bongo Jos, all of them. I had the opportunity of going around to find out from them what are the problems that they are or our people are going through and why. The problems are easy to identify, but the more difficult aspect of that is why. Why? How? How did you come about this? It wasn't just the traditional rulers, but I was also able to sit with some of the very senior elders. And here I just quote one of such elders. Today, perhaps he stands out very much on top of the pyramid of elders. Alhaji Amin Antata, I saw him in Kano. And the reason why I went to see him was because of the remarks he made during the installation of the present Emir of Kano. He spoke, and he said he was going to speak honestly and truthfully. Some may not want to hear what he will say, but he will say all the same. The theme of his assertion is that all the things that have gone wrong with us in the north, all our challenges and complaints, and some of the things that are seen failing or have failed already, is entirely the fault of no one else but the entirely faults of northerners. He said the North should blame no one else. Northerners should blame no one else but themselves for the things that are befalling the region. He came out and bluntly said, going back, being, in fact, Alhaji Amin Antata is now, I think, 96 years old. Fortunately, he's very healthy. And he could remember and can remember a lot of things about the history of northern Nigeria and northern Nigeria in particular. He gave an example. He said, well, why are all those things that our fathers, our teachers, our leaders that strived over the years to have built for the North, on behalf of the North, to serve the North, where are they? Being perhaps a businessman, his first question, particularly when you look at the economy of the country and the poverty statistics that somebody has just alluded to, in terms of the level of poverty in northern Nigeria. Alhaji Amin Antata asked the question, Where is the Bank of the North? Where is the Bank of the North? It's not there. It has disappeared. And how did it disappear? It must have disappeared in the hands of Northerners. Nobody took it away from us by force. It must have disappeared in our hands. Again, being in the business world, we asked, where are the textile industries? Both in Kaduna, particularly, in Kano. You say, where are the textile industry? The largest employers of labor after government. Where are they? They've all disappeared. You ask, where is NNDC, the Northern Nigeria Development Corporation, a conglomerate that was supposed to articulate economic development policies which should guide our leaders and governors, our people in position of authority at various tiers of government, local, state, and even federal. NNDC also has disappeared. How? How did it disappear? And he went on and on up to the level he asked, why is New Nigerian the only newspaper that perhaps was blowing our news around within the region and perhaps across other parts of the country? Newspapers are usually thrive and survive on the basis of patronage. But where are the adverts? Where are local government chairmen? Where are the governors? Where are the ministers and so on that are responsible for giving out adverts that will sustain or support publications such as these ones? We'd rather go elsewhere and ignore our own. And this went on and on. And this is the true story and the truth of where we are. And then finally ask the question, if we are responsible for all this, where are we going to find those who are going to find the solutions for us? If we are responsible for the things that have happened to us, then do we expect it is some magic from outside the North that should come and provide solutions? Certainly not. So if the failures have been within, these solutions must be found within. And this is what we have noticed, and I think the deterioration has been going on, and one can remember in the last 10 to 15 years, Architect Aduku is here, Dr. Bugaji, and quite a number of other active Northerners who are worried, who have been worried, trying to form one group after the other to see how to go about finding solutions to some of these challenges facing the North. In various ways, multidimensional, as already mentioned. It's not that you can't find food or breakfast in the morning. That is your level of poverty. That's not. Much more than that. So we have failed ourselves. And if we have failed ourselves, and truly we feel we have failed ourselves, then we have to then decide the way forward in terms of the recovery process, whether it's going to be short-term, medium term or long term, but the recovery process must start at one point or the other. How long it will take depends entirely on our own energy and determination to find solutions. And solutions could only come from us in our individual ways or in our various positions of responsibility in society. And if we can't do that, then I don't know when the solutions would ever come. So when, at some point 10 years ago, some of us started really getting agitated and started talking to some of our elders. I, in particular, faced my elder, not just an elder when he was my house captain in Barewa College in 1953 when I got admitted, but also my leader, because when I grew up to the point of being appointed Vice Chancellor of Ahmadu Bello University at the age of 39, he was my chairman also, chairman of council. That's Chief Sunday Awoni. Some of you may have known Sunday Awoni. He was one of the principal officers in the office of Ahmadu Bello, the Premier of Northern Nigeria. In fact, when Sardauna died over the years, and Chief Awoni wanted to continue with those sterling qualities of leadership and insisting that the North must really carry on along those lines. He didn't find it easy at all. I'm sure Architect Aduku will be a witness to this. He got to some point frustrated, said, Ango, I can't. No, I said, sir, you must go on. You must. So he stayed there. And in fact, we gave him a new name, Sadana Kekere. In Yoruba means small Sardauna. And these are the kind of leaders that we eventually kept losing. And that is the basis on which we have continued to deteriorate. So, my dear brothers and sisters, friends, he encouraged me, together with others, to sit down and provide a working paper. I remember one of those who was Kaloma Ali and others. And we submitted, and we then submitted them to ACF. He told me in confidence that the paper didn't go down well with quite a number of principal officers of ACF. They saw it as an encroachment on their powers and responsibilities, and therefore excused this old man. Now, when we saw that perhaps we're hitting a brick wall, we changed style, we changed approach. We started to reach out to other elders. And one of the elders we reached out to was Amma Saninkano, Metamasule. And for those of us who have known Metamasule, especially those of us who were university students at Ibadan, and he was a young minister in the administration of Balewa and others, we would not find it difficult to say these are the people who are really inheritors of the values of the leadership exhibited not only by Prime Minister Abubakar, but also all their senior colleagues and so on, the Ribadus, so on and so forth. He said, Ango, could you do something else? You are not going to create a new group that will be at loggerheads with other groups who are doing the same thing. We said, no, we don't have to do that. And then that's how we really came to form the Northern Elders Forum. The Northern Elders Forum was not formed until we brought together the former leaders of the North, including those who are military heads of state, various high positions, including our elders. I remember late Ino Oda was brought in a wheelchair to that meeting in Nikon when Northern Elders Forum was about to be formed. Sule Katagum and a lot of them. They said, this is something we have to start right away. And the mission, simply defined, is that how do we revive some of these values that our fathers have taught us, and which values we have really allowed to go down the drain, and that's why we are having situations deteriorating in our own hands. Can we do something? And we agreed, and Northern Elders Forum was born. It was not born to compete with other groups. It was born to be a complement. And that's why it was mentioned that at the beginning that it is a politically activist group. Politically activist. Because the cultural aspect in consultation and so on, a lot of things fizzle away and slip away through our fingers without getting results. And that's why we formed this slightly different, but with firm belief that that platform should serve in every respect in the discourse, narratives, and debates that usually are going on in this country in terms of how the country will move forward, in terms of its components, its various parts, and so on. And this is how Northern Elders Forum formed. And our first leader, as has already been indicated, was no other person than Amasanin Kano. For me, Amasanin Kano was indeed an embodiment of the values that we saw in Abubakar Tawa Balewa and Sardauna and others. No doubt about that one. For those who have known him, whether in Kano or anywhere else, that was Amasanin Kano. He was our founding leader, and he did exactly what our parents have done to him as a young minister, and this is how he guided us to succeed to where we are today, 10 years after the establishment of Northern Elders Forum. He passed on, and before he passed on, he had a pet person within the Northern Elders Forum. That pet person was no other than Paul Onongo. Paul Onongo was my classmate, and he virtually, before his death, he virtually gave a wasiya that if he dies, his son should succeed him. And he said his son is Paul Onongo. And we respected that wasiya. And when he died, we decided that the leadership of the Northern Elders Forum should pass on to Paul Onongo. And that's what happened, and he did. And there is Damas Adendora there. He was part of the maneuvers that made it easy. Some people thought differently. We said no. This is also a heritage of the North. The North, led by Sardauna, Abubakar, and their colleagues, were the North for everybody. And they worked for and with everybody. And there was no reason whatsoever that any part of the North should feel different from any other part of the other North, or whatever North. So we voted quickly, said that Paul Nongo will succeed by Tamasule. And I was the one who was assigned to communicate to him because we were friends. He thought I was the one, but I told him no. There was a decision in Kano, and it was decided that you are going to lead the Northern Elders Forum. And that's how it happened. And Paul Nongo, for all those who have known him, he may have been a young political activist in the UMBC days and so on, but remained a committed Nigerian, but a committed Northerner from Tivland. No doubt about that. He showed this in various occasions. There was an occasion where we had an interactive with some people. I don't want to begin to mention names. They challenged him personally. Say, why do you think you're a Northerner? He got irritated. I had to control him. He said, I said, just answer the question. Tell them why you are a Northerner. He said, well, I'm a Northerner because when the British came and decided to carve out regions, they created northern, eastern, and western regions. And Tivland, where I come from, was put in northern region. And so I'm a Tiv from northern Nigeria, so I'm a Northerner. And the man argued. He said, no, we don't regard you as one. We only regard that one. He pointed at me, because maybe I look like Fulani or something. He said, that is the true Northern. He said, no. Everybody in the northern region, led by Sardauna, was a Northerner. And there is nowhere on the records that we have today that will say that any part of northern Nigeria was discriminated on the basis of ethnicity, religion, or area. There's nowhere, unless you want to be unjust and unfair to our past leaders. We cannot do this. So this is where, for one reason, we saw efforts being made how to divide the North. That effort failed in the Sardauna days. But the encroachment continued up to this particular point in time. And they found fault lines that are mainly to do with ethnicity, and most unfortunately, most recently, the additive of religion came into the picture. And again, there is no disservice that we'll ever do to the Sardaunas and their leadership, that this North was handled, or Northerners were handled on the basis of ethnic consideration or religion. None. There's none. We have names. Where is that book? Where is that book? Ina littafin da muka zo da shi. Majidade, where is it? Where is it? Go and give it to chairman. The chairman. That's all. So you see, the title of this document is Makers and Science of Northern Nigeria. And nothing could be more truthful than what you see there, what you read there, and the content that is there. So I don't want to take more time in my convener's remarks, but would like to say this particular get-together has particular significance, which I will not want to ignore. And we are in a country today that is unhappy with itself, but then it is unhappy with itself, then it must be because we cause the unhappiness. The Nigerians cause the unhappiness of Nigeria. And if in the north we are unhappy, as Amin Antata has said, we are the cause of the unhappiness in northern Nigeria. And therefore, we have to resolve, we have to take a decision in terms of what has to be done to recover this lost ground. If we allow this to continue, the slide will continue, and we will pass through those that few of us that are still hanging around. But what would the history look like when our children and grandchildren read the history? Just like we're reading this history based on somebody's effort about what happened in terms of the history of northern Nigeria and the leadership. What have we got to show for our children and grandchildren in terms of what we have done for them and for country? Thank you. I'm a former governor, Excellency Governor of Kaduna State. I'm a retired teacher. I always talk a lot, and I don't like people to interrupt me when I'm talking. I'm just being told that I have 1 minute. Okay. And they said it was my governor who sent the message that I have 1 minute. No, I'm joking, I'm sorry. So you see, this assembly is for us to come together again in thoughts, in our minds, in our commitment to the future of this country, and most importantly, the welfare and future of people living in northern Nigeria. And from all the statistics that you have heard, and these are not fictions, they are true. Today, it is our children and grandchildren that are in the bush. Bandits, they are referred to as bandits. They are our children. They come from homes in northern Nigeria. Why? Why are they in the bush? Just about 15 million children out of school today. That figure is true. 15 million children out of school, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, 10-year-olds. They're the ones that you see in the motor parks and they're the ones that come to your car and knock at the glass and do this. They're looking for food. They are the ones that they say they're out there to do Sangha education. They have no time for the Sangha education because the whole day spent by these 6, 7, 8-year-olds is to look for food. What time do they have, or would they have for learning the Quran? That is even the starting point. What time have they got? And they are not in their homes to learn the trade, if there is a trade in their homes. They are not in their homes for the family tarbiyah, as it were. None. Eventually they end up being in brothels, cleaning, washing, and so on and so forth. So we have problems virtually at every turning point, and we have to do something about it. Now, if you look at the politics of the country, now I will talk on this last bit. Politics of the country. The North has paid its dues, more than paid its dues. If there is any part of this country that has made sacrifice for the unity of this country, and for this country to call itself Nigeria as a country, there is no other section of the country that has contributed as much as northern Nigeria. Now, we can bring any area and debate it, and you find that the North paid more than paid its dues. In political terms, this is what now the turbulence in the country politics. The North must not show its face as to who in the next election. The parties were warned that they must not field northerners as presidential candidates, because it is not the turn of the North to rule again after Buhari. Of course, I mean, you can look at it in various ways, legal or political. Certainly not legal. Our law books are very clear, the Constitution is very clear that I can stand election 20 times and I can lose 20 times. But nothing should stop me from contesting election if I want to. But then, when we look at it in terms of, well, do me, I do you. Rub my back and I rub yours. The North has rubbed more backs than its back being rubbed. Obasanjo couldn't get 10,000 votes in front of his house. I sat with him when he declared, and I told the journalists that spoke to him rudely most of the time. I said he would be president in Nigeria by the votes of northern Nigeria, and he did. Even there, well, we got paid back somehow. It wasn't appreciated as such. Who brought Jonathan? The North did. Who voted Abiola? The North did, in my sitting room, to defeat my younger brother, Tofa. All these are sacrifices being made by Northerners. And even if you are talking about the years in power from 2020 1999 date. Obasanjo 8 years. Jonathan 6, 14. Umar 2. And now Buhari 8, 10. So I've been old even in the pure number of years, 4 years. 4 years, even on those terms. But the issue shouldn't have been we are not qualified to contest. We have no right to contest. Certainly, this is the reason why we are saying now that the issue in Nigerian political environment must be based on democratic tenets only. There will be no issue of reserving anything for anybody. If you win an election, you win on the basis of this thumbprint. If you win, we'll accept. But if we win, there's no way you can deny us victory. No way. We will not accept that at all, and will be ready. So this is the point. Now, we are almost at the point when these elections will hold. And we have been in constant touch with our colleagues. The Northern Elders Forum had remained committed to talk to other Nigerians on any matter at any time. And if there are differences, we should resolve it on the basis of discussion. But for us to be beginning to see threats that if this happens and we don't like it, we'll do something negative. So we are warning that the elections, hopefully, will be conducted free, fair, and credible. And anybody who wins the election must be accepted as the winner of the election without sentiment. And if there is any attempt to subvert it, then we'll be ready to also counter. No. So, my dear friends and colleagues, the Northern Elders Forum or the Northern Assembly is meant for us to really look at ourselves and against the rights that is enshrined in our laws and constitution. We are not denying anyone their rights, and nobody will deny us our rights. Nobody. And those who are thinking along those lines, they should go and think again, because we shall not accept a situation where there is a fair, democratically conducted election and a winner emerges and will be denied on the basis that he comes from some section of this country, particularly our own section of the country, will not agree. Will not agree. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry for my usual failure in this kind of gathering when I'm given an opportunity to talk. I've not even addressed, strictly speaking, my speech, but I picked the sense in it and talked about it. And I end again by thanking all of us for coming together to share our concerns about our home, the North, and for us to feel it, that without the base the northern base, the Nigerian state will not have foundation without the northern base. So the North should be prepared to provide that base, and has always been prepared to provide the base. And this is why we made all the sacrifices we have to make in the interest of this country, even though a lot of these sacrifices are not being appreciated by many. And then finally coming home, I want us to remember the good old days of the Sadana. The North are one people, irrespective of where you worship or where you vote, where you associate, but remember the oneness, the togetherness, the fraternity that brought us, the history of this country has brought us together, and we succeeded the way we provided leadership over the years, and we have no apology to offer to anybody in terms of the role we have played for the benefit of this country. Thank you very much.
I start with the profile of the North that we are very familiar with. The North represents 78%. In actual fact, I think it's 78.258 of the landmass of this country. The last town in the south of Kogi State is on the same latitude with Abeokuta. It tells you how far south the North has gone. And only about 40% of this land is currently under cultivation. Its productivity can easily be raised 10 times with basic agricultural technology. We have a variety of climatic conditions that allows us to grow a variety of agricultural products. The North is already the breadbasket of the country. A liter of milk is easily more expensive than a liter of crude oil. The demand for oil is dwindling while the demand for milk is growing with population. On top of this, the North has all the minerals that the world is looking for. At the last count, we have 33 such minerals. Foremost among them are iron ore, gold, diamond, chromite, nickel, uranium, copper, lithium, gemstones like sapphire, etc., etc. In addition to all these, we have been discovering an increasing deposit of hydrocarbons. We have abundance of sunlight and wind, which today are the invariable sources of alternative energy. More importantly, we have one of the fastest growing populations in the world. At least 60% of this population is under 35 years of age, which makes us the envy of Europe, whose population has been on decline for some time now. Additional bonus, we might say, we neither have earthquakes nor tornadoes. In short, the North is so blessed that we have no reason to remain poor and underdeveloped. Our founding fathers saw the potentials and understood what to do. They were able to manage these resources so well that the North provided the critical funding for the economic foundation of the Federation. They were able to manage our diversity so well that we lived so much as our brothers' keepers that the rest of the country saw the North as one solid block. I don't know how many people have this experience. When we went to the NYSC, I did mine in the old Imo State, and some of our northerners who are Christians, some of our colleagues from the South started scripture union meetings, and they attended, but they were expelled. They said, "You are from the North." And they did not even accept them. This was 75, 76. The point I'm making is that the whole country saw the North as one solid block. And we were indeed a solid bloc at that time. This gave us the demographic edge in a democracy, which I think is what the convener, Professor Angablai, has been talking about, which made the North to call the shots in determining the country's political direction. The Sardauna and his team worked as brothers and sisters of the same family. That amicability, respect, and sincerity was what gave North its strength and its focus, and what enabled it to hold the country together in times of crisis. They had a respect for hierarchy, irrespective of religious and ethnic affiliations, and they kept such high standards for hard work, dedication to duty, and honesty that allowed them to lift the region from its poverty to a certain level of prosperity. Both the traditional religious institutions worked in sync to support the administration in a unique show of cooperation and coordination. Many in their 60s now and 70s will recall how efficient the NA was, how it was possible for people from the village to travel and take examinations and get to school without any hitch. That is all gone, unfortunately. What are the prospects? I start, and I want to be very practical here. I want to present you with practical things that can be done. I start with the most important for me, agriculture. We have the highest water density in West Africa, and we've already constructed several dams that can support all year round agriculture, but most of them today lie idle. This alone can keep the northern population busy, productive, and prosperous. Take just one item, tomatoes. Our average production today is about 6 metric tons per hectare. The African average is about 20 metric tons per hectare, so we're very well behind. But Cuba, in the Caribbean island, is doing 120 metric tons per hectare using soil. Cuba has offered to teach us the technique for free through the Accra-based African Union institution called FARA, Forum for Agricultural Research for Africa. No state in the North has taken this offer so far. We picked tomatoes because about 2014, Nigeria was the biggest importer of tomato paste in the world, while it can actually be the biggest exporter of tomato paste in the world. There are such a dozen other examples that we can give that will reflect the prospect or the potentials that we have not explored. The real game changer in agriculture is not just boosting our productivity and improving our post-harvest storage, but shifting from mere production to processing. This shift is what fixes value chains, creates jobs, and brings prosperity. Here again, Brazil, a leading country in agro-processing, has offered us opportunities through the same FARA to train and skill our manpower. Again, nobody has taken the offer yet. We need to reform and update our agricultural curriculum to shift its focus from production to move in the direction of processing. Clearly what we can make from agriculture will be far more what we make today from oil. In any case, while agriculture is renewable, oil is dwindling. We have 2 projects that have been offered. One of them by a foreign country is a unique project which uses the Nigerian, if you like, entrepreneurs, which will move out after 5 years after creating 1 million jobs in agriculture. This project is about I mean, the executive summary is just about 45 pages or so. It's available. Again, it's waiting for someone to take it up. Some of you may have heard about the African Development Bank project, I think about 2015, 2016, which was meant to take 1,000 graduates, handhold them through agriculture in every of the 36 states of the Federation. This project failed after they have transferred already 300 million into the central bank, simply because between the CBN and the agricultural, the Ministry of Agriculture, they could not agree on who will hold the project. So this money was moved out, I think, to either Angola or Namibia or one country in the Southern Africa, and we've lost that particular chance. Livestock. In the 21st century, we have no business moving live cattle to the south, with all the difficulties and tragedies that we have witnessed. Indeed, the controversy about open grazing and colony and Ruga ought not to have arisen but for the stupidity of government. It all reminds one of Bonhoeffer's theory of stupidity. People can look it up, but basically what he's saying is that we have far more to fear from stupid people than even evil ones. By taking cattle to the south, we are losing jobs as well as revenue. I understand an average of 10,000 taxes are collected per cattle. And I know more than 1,000 cattle get delivered to Lagos daily. And that automatically means 10 million naira a day. And in 365 days, this comes to 3.6 billion naira revenue for Lagos State. This is a loss of revenue for us, and this is what we keep doing. We have no business doing that. But all this represents a fraction of the loss. For if we have a modern meat factory in the north, not only do we preserve the jobs for our youth, but every aspect of the cattle is utilized into a useful product. The blood, the bones, the horns, the hooves, and of course the skin. In this modern meat factory, nothing is lost. All these represent sub-industries that fix the value chain. It may interest the audience to know that a company ready to invest came into the country, did all the preparations, and ready to start in one of the key northern states, but the governor killed the project simply because he was not given something. I'm not relating a story, I'm part of it, I know this. The governor is not here, so that people should not start thinking of... Now this is sad and tragic, but such are the leaders we elect. There is a similar story with the shea butter. The ARDP connected with our engineers in the polytechnics, and they designed a shea butter modular equipment, because shea butter is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and we have a lot of it in this country. At the moment, from Benue, that belt from Benue to Niger, has a large stock of naturally growing. You don't even have to plant it. All you need is to pick it. Most of it is now being taken to Ghana, where it is processed and sold to the world. And there was a time when the Niger State had an investment summit. We went to that. The Minister of Agriculture then was there, and we displayed these machines and these prospects and things that we need to do, and there were investors ready. And the amount of trauma that has been generated in that community is something that we will spend the next generation battling with. So we're not, going granular and trying to understand at a micro level what is happening to our society as a result of the insecurity that we are facing. This is in addition to everything that you know. We need to look at the process of the recruitment of our leaders, because at the end of the day, it's all about leadership. If you look at the countries that have suddenly astonished the world in the transformation, like South Korea, like Japan, like Singapore and Rwanda, they achieved this transformation within a period of 20 to 25 years. It is now 25 years since we returned to democracy. What have we gained? As far as I know, and if you look at the figures, poverty has more than doubled. Insecurity has escalated. Everything of ours is going down the drain. And this is why we need to look at our democracy itself. It's not delivering. Must we continue with a system that is destroying our country? Isn't it time to start thinking that we need to do something to this democracy that can actually reflect our values? Is it something that has come from on high that we have to? After all, democracy was only 200 years ago. It started from French Revolution and American Declaration of Independence in 1776. So what is so unique about it? And why should we take things hook, line, and sinker without any modification to fit our own environment? We can't be so daft. It's not that we don't have an alternative. So why should we continue with the system that is? I've spoken about our human capital, and this is very serious. I'm raising issues that we're not paying much attention to. In terms of nutrition, when the DG again was reeling out the statistics, I know he didn't have the opportunity to read all his paper because I've had a copy and I've seen very important things. But something that we need to understand is that the nutritional level of our society today is the worst in the world, in the North. And what is the implication of that? If from the age of 1 to 5, a child is not fed with good nutrition, he will have a permanent mental damage. He will never be bright enough to compete with children of his own age. And that means that we are going to be producing daft children who cannot compete with their peers. So these are things that have a lot of implication. I can go on. I've spoken about corruption. We are too familiar with that. And when we speak about corruption, it's not the kind of corruption that we see. We need to, do some introspection. I'm happy there are traditional institutions here. Why should people who have stolen money just be given titles? Are we not really encouraging? What do we do with our marriage system? See the notes that everybody is looking for. We saw notes in marriage ceremonies being sprayed on people, new notes. Are we crazy? Don't we have a pecking order? Nobody can speak to us? These very old people, I'm glad they are still here. We had the opportunity to work with some of them. They have a pecking order. I remember when we had a meeting with one of the senior citizens, and suddenly it occurred to them that next meeting, the late Malam Ahmad Joda should be invited. It was in Kaduna. And the person whose house we were meeting said, in that case, Malam Ahmad Joda will be chairing the session. The difference between him and Malam Ahmad Joda was just about 2-3 years. But they have got this pecking order. The moment Malam Ahmad Joda comes, he just simply automatically occupies the seat. Everybody accepts. There is a hierarchy, there is discipline. And all this is gone, thanks to our kind of democracy. Now, let me try to conclude. I think some of the issues that we need to look at very closely is that for us to compete favorably in the 21st century, for us to survive and thrive, we must change our mindset. We must change our mindset. The governor of Bauchi gave us an opportunity. I'm not sure if he has read the report we read, but he gave us an opportunity to train local government officers. We picked 5, the chairman, the vice chair, the whatever, the 5 most important. And for 2 days, we trained them, and we saw that it is possible to change mindset. They all went out because we wanted them to understand the concept of development. And that's what we should be going to. And this has to be done. Otherwise, you can write the best paper, you can get all the money in the world, it will just simply go down the drain. If we do not change our mindset, the way we behave, the world is laughing at us. And we're not making any progress. We have a lot of ego. And this is why I don't want this title business. I mean, our great leaders were just known as Malan Ahmad Talib, Malan Liman Churuma. You can see the modesty. Some of them are levels of professors. But they have this modesty. But wherever we go, we want to be recognized as this and that, the lion of this and the hyena of that, and all these sort of things. For goodness sake, what is all this? We sometimes behave like children. We have got a big problem ahead of us, where we should be cracking our head to solve. But we're here dancing and relishing in some kind of frivolity, for goodness sake. We have got to pay attention to girl child education. The convener talked about value system. We have got to come back and re-inject our good values back into our society. We are seeing things that we could not believe in our life could happen. People have started selling their parents to make money. And we have stories about that. In Zamfara, where Sharia started, a man and a woman challenged each other, and they took off their clothes and had sex in the public park. They were arrested, luckily, but the point is, if such a thing can ever happen, doesn't it occur to us that something is seriously wrong about us? How can this happen in any sane society? And this is where Sharia even started. So it's all the more reason why I should now go back and really rethink about all these things that we are talking about. So, what we hope, finally, whatever government comes into power and whatever governors we're able to get, I think this assembly and many more must come together, put together what the Northern Elders has produced. I know they have got a huge volume. The Arewa Research and Development Project has, since 2014, developed a stand document that is the strategic agenda for Northern development. We have got a lot of these ideas. Prioritize these things. Engage whoever comes early enough and make it very clear that the North has a direction. These are the targets we are looking for. We want to raise our productivity in agriculture. We want to create this number of jobs. We want to do this. We want to fix our health system. We want to do this. Let's come up with demands. And let's face these people with very clear, measurable demands and ask them to utilize the resources, the public resources, to achieve this and monitor them. But more importantly, we must realize, what are we going to leverage to make those demands? Because in the real world, nobody gets what he deserves. Everybody gets what he negotiates for. And the currency for that negotiation is power. What power are we going to leverage to negotiate what is best for the North? Are we going to use demographic power? Are we going to use our moral power? Because power has many sources. It can be economic, it can be military, it can be political, it can be intellectual, it can be moral, it can be demographic. And that's what's going for us. But we have to decide, what power are we going to leverage? but we must not allow the next dispensation to become like the previous dispensation. People elected, they simply spend our resources in dancing and music and ceremonies and frivolities, and they leave us high and dry, and society will be going down the drain. God forbid. I thank you for listening.
I wish to pose that the majesty of Arsh al-Azim is beyond that pitiable creature will be in need of help and he doesn't get that help. Who is that pitiable? Human, down here on earth. We cannot manage our affairs in Nigeria. And every 4 years, Allah's Rahmah is down here. When we see election, we're talking of Allah's Rahmah. If you don't like your situation, change it. We cannot touch Allah's Rahmah for one key reason, because we don't say the truth. And no institution or organization leads in saying the truth like what we have here today. So Baba, I thank you so much. What is the truth? There are systems that have failed. Move them out. There are individuals who have paid. Move them out. In fact, Dr. Bugaji, senior colleague, when he said that, why should people who stole be given titles? He is correct, but he can even be more correct when he puts it this way. Why should people who stole be given power? Where you see the problem, we see the solution. We have already said it. The enemies, the terrorists, the bandits, the armed robbers, the kidnappers, they are not more formidable than constituted authority. Maitama police station can go and dislodge them. The fact of the matter is that there has never been that political will to do it. Irresponsible governance has been responsible for the situation we're in. Where you see the problem, we see the solution. Our records, our histories have shown we were able to create wealth. We did not derive wealth from government. Logically speaking, we know how to move Nigeria from consumption to production. Again, my senior brother came short of saying production because he's so clever. He says consumption to processing. In fact, you have been reading our mind. We are the ones who will bring an end to this endemic corruption. A governor who served 8 years without borrowing a penny, left behind 75 billion for his state, and refused to sign the law to collect money. Match that with a vice who, when in 2006, they were selling Apple houses. Not that the act was wrong, but I disagreed with the principle of repayment. 1 out of 360 refused to buy my humble self. I'll respect your time. The truth of the matter is that we don't say the truth, we don't like the truth, we don't support the truth. And that is why we are not yet able to touch Allah's Rahmah by getting the right leaders. Nothing is as powerful as an idea whose time has come. That idea now is that Nigerians have more or less resolved to vote in competence you can trust, characters you know, compassion you can feel, capacity that has been proven. Let's meet at the polling units. Thank you so much.
There are 3 things that the declaration said. That the leader we are going to elect in the next 10 days must have 3 elements from the declaration: integrity, competence, and compassion. Who will take any one of these from Senator Rabi Musa Konkoso? He has passed through the grill, and today nobody is pursuing him that he is very corrupt or has been in the prison for being corrupt. I'm not campaigning, sir. Please take it easy. I'm not campaigning. So I'm about to finish. Yes, Sadiq, I know you for all the time. Let me finish one sentence before I conclude. So when you're saying that there is no problem of integrity, there's no problem of incompetence because he has passed through the grill, he knows the system. He knows the system. And of course, he has compassion. Therefore, I want to thank you once again and appreciate you. Remember, in the next 10 days, we are going to make choice. And the choice is about the future of our country and the future of northern Nigeria. We believe the North will rise again. We believe the North must rise again. And we believe the North must and should rise again. And we are the one to lead it because, as Ango Abdullah has said, from his conversation with Alhassan Dantata, we are the cause of our problem. We must therefore be the solution to our problem. Thank you very much.
That competent hand, I have no doubt, is our candidate, Atiku Abubakar. He knows Nigeria, he knows Nigerians. He has been there. He's not a rookie. So fellow Nigerians, you are going in the next 10 days to elect a candidate of your choice. We're not going to elect candidates under any threat, under any violence. What we have been telling our people over the last 8 years is to remain peaceful and prayerful. And they have been. Now is their time to change. Wherever I go, what I tell our youth is your PVC is more powerful than AK-47 or AK-49. Use that your PVC to make your lives better. And inshallah, in the next 10 days, our people will line and make the right choice. That right choice, in my mind, without a doubt, fellow Nigerians, will be Atiku Abubakar. He'll be a steady hand to get this country out of the ditch it is in, to get this country out of the ICU. We are not going to be involved in any insults, any blackmail, or any violence. We are more cultured than that, and we respect our elders. Thank you very much.
The chairman of the Northern Elders Forum, our father and our mentor, Professor Ango Abdullahi, my father, Ambassador Hayakonde, and other distinguished leaders of the North, especially the presidential aspirants, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. We give praise to God for this moment and this opportunity. And I appreciate the invitation to come here and talk for a few minutes. Mine is just to appreciate this forum because it is a sign that the North is still kicking, is still moving, and it has leaders, genuine leaders who have done it before and who are ready to do it to the end. We as the emerging leaders, we have a lot of problems and challenges. The chairman has said everything that needs to be said. And one of the most respected resource persons has said it too, Professor Bogaji. He is heading a group of intellectuals in the North who have come up with the baseline studies of where we are, where we will go, and how we will go. But we are never using it. Unfortunately, the North is always full of rhetorics and semantics and polemics. We sit down and discuss and lament. Nothing is done. I'm happy at the end of the discussion, I heard what the convener said and Professor Bugaji. We need a team. We need people that will give us a wake-up call. All the aspects of life and living in the North has been deplorable, either in health and education, and even our community life and our values. That is why we have insecurity. Leadership recruitment is so bad. The elites are at each other's neck. We as governors, we have not established a peer review group that will be discussing. It used to be one North, one man leading it, the Premier. But we don't have that again. We are so fragmented. Ego, envy, and malice have taken the order of the day. And anytime we are given the opportunity, we don't do our best. And we don't need the federal government to excel in the North. Our over-dependency on the presidency and the Nigerian government is our problem. We have been at the center for too long, and we didn't do much. And that's why we are always struggling to be at the center. The resources enumerated by Professor Bugaje are at the periphery, at the units. Mineral resources, agriculture, common security in the North, we cannot keep it. We don't respect our traditional rulers. We have not given them a role up to today. We have strata of leadership. It was only when I went to Bauchi that I knew that we have good structure for leadership that we are not using. In those days, nobody will come and commit mayhem in a community without being detected. But no more. I think we have to cultivate the fidelity. We have to reinvent ourselves. Other sections have gone far. We are competing with some in the federating units that can be independent, economically and otherwise. But we are not. We need to choose wisely. And that's why this forum is very timely. It is time to choose our leaders. Leaders that can take our interests into cognizance. The aspirants have spoken. It used to be one voice. The North would say, go this direction, and we will go. But it is no more. We abuse ourselves. We subject ourselves into subject of caricature and lampoons. We do so many things. Some of us, given the opportunity in Bauchi, I decided to stay in Bauchi because that's where God kept me. And I have to make a mark. And I'm welcoming anybody that will assist me. Some people will wait to be invited. All of you are invited to Bauchi and there, because I know you will make your contributions. So, we the elites, we must learn from our elders. Some of the elders who led the North of the country had barely a degree qualification, but they did so well. And now with the PhDs and the professors, we are nowhere. I have seen the futility of qualification, the uselessness of qualification. The demographics are against us. It is a rat race. We must wake up. We must respect our elders. And the elders must engage us, talk to us, call us. I didn't want to come today, but when I was told that Ango Abdullahi summoned me, I came because I respect him. I believe him. I trust him. And this trust is very important. We have lost the trust with the common people of the North. The NIDA redesign, the policies, obnoxious policies that have been done, have been hatched and perpetuated by us, by the Northern people. And we are the worst of it. We have to talk to ourselves. We have to have a means of coming together. Coming together is a big problem. This hall is just a small percentage of the resource persons of the North that should be here. I thank you for the opportunity, but I think it's a wake-up call. We need to do more. We need to look at our problems and challenges. That of security. People cannot go to farm. People cannot even buy and sell. We have the biggest and widest informal economy. No banking culture. And yet, we are doing things as if we are in the ICT age. But certainly, nobody will wait for us. We have to catch up. catching up will start with unity and unity of purpose. I appreciate the elders so much, and I feel ashamed that as a leader, we are not even showing some traces of what they have done before and what they are doing today. And we need you, for all of us, governors, chairmen of local government, and all leaders at various levels, to come together with sincerity and fidelity to carry the North and the nation forward. Thank you very much.